Welcome to today's English listening and speaking practice video. We're going to explore a significant event in recent history, the meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump. This encounter was a pivotal moment in international politics, sparking intense debate and discussion worldwide. As we delve into the details of this meeting, we'll be practicing our English skills, focusing on vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. This video is designed to help you improve your listening comprehension and speaking abilities, so be sure to follow along and take notes. Throughout this video, we'll examine the events leading up to the meeting, the discussions that took place, and the aftermath. We'll also explore the implications of this encounter on global politics and international relations. So let's get started and dive into the fascinating story of the Zelensky-Trump meeting. The stage was set for a historic meeting between two world leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump. But before we dive into the details of their encounter, let's take a step back and explore the events that led up to this pivotal moment. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, marking the beginning of the Russo-Ukrainian War. The conflict escalated in 2022, with Russia launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The international community condemned Russia's actions, and the United States, under the administration of Joe Biden, provided significant support to Ukraine. Fast forward to 2025, when Donald Trump returned to the White House. Trump had a history of confrontation with Zelensky, having been impeached in 2019 for withholding arms shipments to Ukraine in an attempt to coerce the Ukrainian president into investigating Trump's political rival, Joe Biden. As tensions between Ukraine and Russia continued to rise, Zelensky sought to strengthen ties with the United States. He planned to meet with Trump to discuss a framework agreement on minerals, which would provide security guarantees for Ukraine and create a joint investment fund to rebuild the country. However, the Trump administration had other plans. They pressured Ukraine to agree to share revenue from its raw minerals with the United States. Zelensky, determined to protect Ukraine's interests, stood firm in his negotiations. The stage was now set for a dramatic confrontation between Zelensky and Trump. The two leaders had fundamentally different visions for Ukraine's future, and their meeting would be a clash of wills. As we explore the events leading up to this meeting, let's take a moment to review some key vocabulary and phrases. Russo-Ukrainian War, a conflict between Russia and Ukraine that began in 2014. Annexation, the act of taking control of a country or territory. Impeachment, the process of charging a government official with a crime. Framework agreement, a document outlining the terms of a partnership or deal. Now that we've set the stage, let's move on to the dramatic events that unfolded during the meeting between Zelensky and Trump. Will they find common ground, or will their differences tear them apart? It was a chilly winter morning in New York when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the Intercontinental New York Barclay to meet with former US President Donald Trump. The two leaders were about to engage in a historic meeting that would spark intense debate and discussion worldwide. As they sat down in the meeting room, the atmosphere was tense. President Trump, known for his straightforward demeanor, began the conversation by praising President Zelensky's efforts to tackle corruption in Ukraine. "You're doing a great job in Ukraine, and I think you're going to do fantastically well," Trump said. President Zelensky thanked Trump for his kind words and expressed his gratitude for the US's support in Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. "We have two wars in Ukraine," Zelensky explained. "One is with corruption, and the other is with Russia." The conversation then shifted to the topic of trade and economic cooperation between the two countries. Trump emphasized the importance of Ukraine doing more to tackle corruption and implement reforms. "Stop corruption in Ukraine, because that will really make you great," Trump advised. Zelensky nodded in agreement, highlighting Ukraine's efforts to pass new laws and reforms. "We have a new team, a new parliament, and a new government," Zelensky said. "We're working hard to implement reforms and tackle corruption." As the meeting progressed, the discussion turned to the topic of military aid. Trump reiterated his commitment to providing Ukraine with military assistance, but also emphasized the need for other countries to contribute more. "We're working with Ukraine," and we want other countries to work with Ukraine too, Trump said. Throughout the meeting, both leaders emphasized the importance of their countries' relationship. We want to be friends, and we want to work together, Zelensky said. As the meeting came to a close, Trump and Zelensky shook hands, and the atmosphere in the room seemed to ease. Despite their differences, the two leaders had found common ground and a willingness to work together. Let's review some key phrases from the meeting. Stop corruption in Ukraine because that will really make you great. President Trump's advice to President Zelensky. We have two wars in Ukraine. One is with corruption, and the other is with Russia. President Zelensky's description of Ukraine's challenges. We want to be friends, and we want to work together. President Zelensky's statement on Ukraine's relations. These phrases capture the essence of the meeting between Trump and Zelensky, highlighting their discussions on corruption, trade, and military aid. The meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump was meant to be a historic moment in international diplomacy. However, it ended up sparking a global controversy that would have far-reaching implications. At the heart of the controversy was Trump's unexpected stance on Ukraine. During a press conference, Trump refused to acknowledge Russia's role in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, instead suggesting that Ukraine was to blame for not negotiating a peace deal. This statement sent shockwaves around the world, with many interpreting it as a sign that Trump was abandoning Ukraine and siding with Russia. The international community was quick to react, with European leaders expressing their disappointment and concern over Trump's comments. European Union Foreign Minister Kaja Kallas declared, "Today it became clear that the free world needs a new leader. It's up to us, Europeans, to take this challenge." This statement encapsulated the growing realization that Europe could no longer rely on the US for leadership and security guarantees. The controversy surrounding the meeting also highlighted the deep divisions within the US. Trump's supporters saw his comments as a sign of his commitment to putting America first, while his critics viewed them as a betrayal of Ukraine and a threat to global stability. As the controversy continued to unfold, it became clear that the meeting between Zelensky and Trump had marked a turning point in international relations. The US was no longer seen as a reliable ally, and countries around the world were being forced to reevaluate their relationships with America. In the midst of this chaos, Ukraine found itself facing an uncertain future. With the US no longer providing unwavering support, Ukraine was forced to look elsewhere for allies. This led to a strengthening of ties with European countries, particularly Germany and France. As we reflect on the controversy surrounding the meeting between Zelensky and Trump, it's clear that the repercussions are still being felt today. The meeting marked a shift in the global balance of power, with the US ceding influence to other countries. Let's review some key phrases from the controversy. The free world needs a new leader. European Union Foreign Minister Kaja Kallas' statement on the need for new leadership in the wake of Trump's comments. America First, Trump's slogan, which was seen as a sign of his commitment to putting American interests above all else. A new era of alliances, a phrase used to describe the shifting landscape of international relations in the wake of the controversy. These phrases capture the essence of the controversy surrounding the meeting between Zelensky and Trump. They highlight the deep divisions within the US, the shifting balance of power in international relations, and the uncertain future facing Ukraine and other countries around the world. The meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump had far-reaching consequences, sending shockwaves through global politics and leaving a lasting impact on Ukraine's relations. In the aftermath of the meeting, the international community was quick to react. European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, reaffirmed their support for Ukraine, emphasizing the need for continued solidarity in the face of Russian aggression. The US, however, was divided. Democratic senators sharply criticized Trump's handling of the meeting, accusing him of doing Russian President Vladimir Putin's dirty work. Republican Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska also condemned the meeting, describing it as a bad day for America's foreign policy. As the controversy continued to unfold, Ukraine found itself at the center of a global storm. Zelensky's resolve was praised by Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha, who emphasized that the Ukrainian president had displayed bravery and strength to stand up for what is right. The meeting also marked a significant shift in global politics. With the US no longer seen as a reliable ally, European countries began to re-evaluate their relationships with Ukraine and Russia, as Professor Sir Lawrence Friedman, Emeritus Professor of War Studies, noted. It could mean Europeans having to take full responsibility for their own defense and that of Ukraine while being excluded from the vital negotiations that will determine the extent of the challenge they face. The aftermath of the meeting also saw a surge in diplomatic efforts. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha engaged in discussions with his counterparts from the Netherlands, Estonia, and Spain, while French President Emmanuel Macron reiterated his support for Ukraine, emphasizing the need for continued sanctions against Russia. As we reflect on the impact of the meeting, it's clear that the repercussions are still being felt today. The meeting marked a turning point in Ukraine-US relations, highlighting the deep divisions within the US and the need for European countries to take a more active role in supporting Ukraine. Vocabulary: diplomatic efforts, attempts to resolve conflicts or improve relations through negotiations and dialogue. Global politics: the study of the interaction between nations and international organizations. International community: the collective group of countries and international organizations that work together to address global issues. Phrases: a bad day for America's foreign policy. Republican Representative Don Bacon's description of the meeting. We stand with Ukraine, a phrase used by several European leaders to express their support for Ukraine. Ukraine can rely on Germany and on Europe. Outgoing German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's statement of support for Ukraine. The meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump was a pivotal moment in international politics, marked by public clashes over military aid, security guarantees, and a contentious mineral resources agreement. Key takeaways: deepening fractures in US-Ukraine relations. The meeting highlighted the growing tensions between the two nations, with Trump pressing Zelensky to accept compromises with Russia. Mineral deal sparks controversy. The agreement granting the US access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals has been criticized for prioritizing US economic interests over Ukraine's security needs. Erosion of trust. The public acrimony between Trump and Zelensky has damaged US-Ukraine relations, potentially complicating future cooperation. Reflection on the significance of the meeting. The meeting between Zelensky and Trump underscores the precarious state of US-Ukraine relations under a transactional administration. Trump's insistence on compromises with Moscow and his confrontational style has deepened Kyiv's anxieties about abandonment. The meeting also highlights the shifting balance of power in international relations. With the US no longer seen as a reliable ally, European countries are being forced to re-evaluate their relationships with Ukraine and Russia. Key vocabulary: transactional approach. A diplomatic approach that prioritizes short-term gains and economic interests over long-term relationships and strategic partnerships. Rare earth minerals. A group of 17 chemical elements used in advanced technologies, including electronics, renewable energy systems, and defense industries. Key phrases: a bad day for America's foreign policy. Republican Representative Don Bacon's description of the meeting. The US is treating Ukraine as a business venture, not a strategic partner. French President Marine Le Pen's criticism of the US approach to Ukraine. The meeting between Zelensky and Trump has significant implications for global politics, highlighting the need for European countries to take a more active role in supporting Ukraine and countering Russian aggression. As the international community continues to grapple with the fallout from this meeting, one thing is clear: the world is watching, and the consequences of this encounter will be felt for years to come. Here are some common conversation sentences from the story to listen and repeat to improve your English speaking skill. The meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump was a pivotal moment in international politics. The two leaders had fundamentally different visions for Ukraine's future. President Trump began the conversation by praising President Zelensky's efforts to tackle corruption in Ukraine. President Zelensky thanked Trump for his kind words and expressed his gratitude for the US's support in Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. The conversation then shifted to the topic of trade and economic cooperation between the two countries. Trump emphasized the importance of Ukraine doing more to tackle corruption and implement reforms. Zelensky nodded in agreement, highlighting Ukraine's efforts to pass new laws and reforms. The meeting marked a turning point in Ukraine-US relations. The US was no longer seen as a reliable ally, and European countries began to re-evaluate their relationships with Ukraine and Russia. As the controversy continued to unfold, Ukraine found itself at the center of a global storm. Zelensky's resolve was praised by Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha. The meeting also marked a significant shift in global politics. With the US no longer seen as a reliable ally, European countries were forced to re-evaluate their relationships with Ukraine and Russia. The aftermath of the meeting saw a surge in diplomatic efforts. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha engaged in discussions with his counterparts from the Netherlands, Estonia, and Spain. French President Emmanuel Macron reiterated his support for Ukraine, emphasizing the need for continued sanctions against Russia. The meeting marked a turning point in Ukraine-US relations, highlighting the deep divisions within the US. The meeting also highlighted the need for European countries to take a more active role in supporting Ukraine. The international community was quick to react to the meeting, with many leaders expressing their disappointment and concern. The meeting between Zelensky and Trump has significant implications for global politics. That's all the time we have for today's video on the meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former US President Donald Trump. We've covered a lot of ground, from the events leading up to the meeting to the controversy that surrounded it. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in international politics, it's clear that the repercussions are still being felt today. The meeting marked a turning point in Ukraine-US relations, highlighting the deep divisions within the US and the need for European countries to take a more active role in supporting Ukraine. So, what can we learn from this experience? Firstly, the importance of effective communication in international diplomacy cannot be overstated. The meeting between Zelensky and Trump was a prime example of how miscommunication and differing expectations can lead to controversy and conflict. Secondly, the meeting highlighted the need for countries to work together to address common challenges. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of diplomatic efforts to resolve conflicts peacefully. Finally, the meeting demonstrated the significance of leadership and vision in shaping international relations. As we move forward in an increasingly complex and interconnected world, it's essential that leaders prioritize cooperation, empathy, and understanding. Key takeaways: effective communication is crucial in international diplomacy. Countries must work together to address common challenges. Leadership and vision are essential in shaping international relations. Now, it's your turn to practice your English skills. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel and join our community for English listening and speaking practice to improve your English speaking skill. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos and resources. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.